What's going on, everybody? I'm Patrick from POWLAX, and in this video we're going to be continuing our building box pick series with 3v0s, 3v2s, and 3v3s. In this video we are going to flash forward through a lot of the technique stuff like we did in the 2v0s, 2v1s, and 2v2s video. So if you've not already seen it, definitely check out the using and defending box picks video, which I will link right up here. Also, if you'd like to download the playbook PDF for your playbook and just to follow along with me here as I go through everything, you can get that at patreon.com/POWLAX by clicking this link up in the corner or by the link down in the description if you are using Facebook. So the thing that we're going to be incorporating with our 3v series here that we did not incorporate with the 2v series is using both sides of the floor from the offensive perspective and having someone backside who has to watch the pick happen and account for a guy so he knows whether or not he has to slide or get out to his man. So the 2v series really focused in on the dynamics of a single pick in space, and now we are going to be able to have picks on both sides, which should make this a little bit more dynamic. So the first drill that we're going to do is our 3v0. And so rather than being a skeleton shooting style drill, this is going to be a skeleton offense style drill. And so these players who are on the floor are going to run through the offense as many times as you want them to. And then at the end, they're going to have to take a shot on goal. But that shot has to be generated off of basically a play that hits all three players. So let's go through the motion. So first, R4 up here, he's going to have the ball. He can pass down in either direction he wants, and I'm going to have him pass down to R1. As he passes down, he is then going to cut the middle, come out, and set a pick for R1. After he sets that pick, he's now going to slip to the goal. R1 is going to catch, and he can use a double move, or he can kind of just post up, and then he is going to come up over the top of this pick. Once he gets to the top of the field, he is going to pass down to L1, and then he is going to cut the middle, come inside out, and set a pick for L1, and then he is going to slip to the goal. As L1 catches the ball, he is going to use a double move or post his man up and come off of that pick, getting to the top of the field. And as he is doing that, R4 is now going to pop off of the back pipe and get ready to receive the pass. And so this motion is going to go from the right side to the left side to the right side to the left side in a manner where we are getting successive picks on opposite sides of the floor. Here's a quick clip from our 3v3 series. Notice we get a nice pass down, pick down on the left, throws it across, get a pass down, pick down on the right, and this one finishes with a nice behind the back hit the slip look. But what we would want in our 3v0s is to have them rep through it a few more times before finding a look. Once the first group of players have repped through this enough to where they've had a pick on this side, pick on that side, pick on this side, pick on that side, the coach can basically say, all right, now you're free to shoot. But I like to make it so they have to use at least 2 passes, and hopefully they'll hit all 3 players. So if we just start with this group, and let's say we have a pass down, pick down here. So we're going to have a pass. He's then going to come off of this pick, come to the top. And let's say now we're saying, okay, you are allowed to shoot. Maybe one of the things that'll happen is we will have him pass down, and he will pass it right through back to this back pipe player who had just slipped to the goal. And so this is our nation's look. Another look that we can have is rather than passing to him, we can now do a give and go look where as R1 moves it down to L1, he can now cut the middle. That's part of his job. And as he's cutting, we want to make sure that he's not just cutting because the coach said to. His stick needs to be up. He needs to be in a position where he can catch the ball and feed, and so that's the look that we can also find. So he passes in, he catches it, and he shoots. So it's imperative that as players are doing this, that they're being creative. We'd like to have a look that really looks good, that has kind of goes bang, 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 and then they have a good shot, but that won't always work out. But I really like them to know the nation's look, know the give and go look, and the final look that I like them to know is basically a hit the slip with 2 passes. So the pass will go down, he will come off of the pick, Obviously, R4 has to come down and set that pick for him. And now as he slips to the goal, he's going to hit the slip, and at this point, L1 should be in on this back pipe so that he can catch it and then come here. So what I see and what our guys like to do a lot is they're so concerned with the fact that we're going to have to end up passing it to them that they stay really wide. But if the first pass comes to this opposite side, he wants to make sure that he gets into this back pipe. Then as the ball does come over, he can then step out and catch the ball. The key being that if he's on this back pipe spot, he's extremely dangerous. Any through pass that hits him, he can just quick stick it in, and it really just helps the players understand the idea of spacing. If there's no defenseman in this space here, I want to be right on this back pipe. Even if there is a defenseman here, I want to be on this back pipe because if he goes, I need to be in a position where I can catch and finish quickly. Once our players have a good understanding of how the offense will flow, where they are picking on one side and then on the other, then we're going to move to our 3v2s. And within our 3v2s, our defenders have to have an understanding of how 2 can play 3. So D1 will be on ball to start, D5 will then be splitting 2. If they don't understand that yet, I recommend running a just simple triangle where the offensive players will just stand there and they'll pass it around, making the 2 other players rotate so they can get an understanding of that. Just a quick note about how we can rep through these 3v2s and 3v3s. We can do a bunch of different things as far as how they line up and how they come through the drills, but so a couple of my favorites are we can have the players go from offense to defense to out, where they'll be offense the first rep, defense the second rep, and then they'll leave the drill for that next rep. The next thing we can do is during those reps, we can make them compete where they get 3 reps, and if the defense wins 2, they win. If the offense wins 2, they win. Finally, we can also play fireball. So during fireball, basically a coach will be standing up here somewhere. He will throw the ball anywhere he wants on the floor. Whichever team picks the ball up, throws it back to coach, will get the ball back and they will be on offense. Then if they turn the ball over and the defense picks it up, they just have to throw it back to coach, get the ball back, and now they are on offense. Running fireball is one of the best ways that you can really spice up your practice, because now the kids are really competing and maybe they even play king of the court where whoever gets to win stays. Now within our 3v2, I'm going to run this a lot like I did the 2v video, where I'm going to show you how we get to the pick and then talk about all of the things that will happen as the pick goes on and after the pick. So to get to the pick, R4 is going to pass down to either side. He's going to choose to pass down to R1. Once he does that, he's going to cut the middle, pushing D1 into the middle, then step out to set a pick on D5. As R4 is pushing D1 to the middle, D1 will push him back. But once he's here, he's not going to step out to play the pick. He's going to stay inside because once the ball hits R1, he now has to split L1 and R4. So as the ball goes down, D5 is going to go out to play R1, and R1 is going to maybe use a double move, post up D5, and then try to come off the pick. And so as D5 is going to the pick, D1 has to be letting him know, hey, pick coming left, pick coming left. So now we are at our pick position. D5 is coming up and he is getting picked. And now L1 is going to be on this back pipe. This is a quick example of us getting to the pick. The player passes down, he goes inside out to set the pick. The player who catches the ball does a double move to set up the pick. The player on ball is going to try to get through the pick, and notice how the backside player is getting to that back pipe, which makes the off-ball defenseman respect him, and so now he is splitting what will happen with the pick and his player on the backside pipe. So now that we are at our pick, we are going to have R1 carry over the top of the pick. And as he carries over the top, what we'd like to see here, we'd like to have happen a lot during this drill, is we would like for the defenseman who is on ball to get through, and he can get through by going over the top by pushing this player out, or he can come underneath the pick and kind of meet him here. But so the reason we want this to happen is because if we can get through our picks here, then once we have a second defender here, we won't have to switch, because switching, we don't want to do it. It's what's going to give up some of the looks. And so as far as D5 is concerned, his only job is to get through. But for D1, he is going to be our backside player, where if we were even, we would have 2 players on ball. And if the pick did work well, now he has to evaluate whether he needs to slide or whether he needs to stay with his player here. So as the ball comes up over the top, regardless of if the pick works or not, he's going to have to evaluate what he needs to do backside. So let's say the pick doesn't work, D5 stays with. Now we have a slip. R1 is going to be able to pass to R4. And if he does make this pass, D1 has to evaluate, should I slow play here? Do I need to go? A lot of time, this player isn't really aware of really needing to be in on this pick, but if he is, a lot of times he can surprise D4 if he arrives there quickly. In this clip, we get a good pass down, pick down. The backside player does a good job to split two, and watch how he does a great job of getting pressure to the player who slipped as he catches the pass. Now, the more difficult look for him is if this pick does work. So let's say the pick works well, R4 ends up slipping, D5 is actually behind him. Now we actually have two players who are open. So as R1 comes over the top, he could pass to the slipping R4, and this really puts D1 in a very tough spot because as R1 starts coming through, he can easily step in and shoot there, so D1 really needs to evaluate. Do I go up to play him and I leave him here? And what we want to teach this player is how to slow play, how to maybe show to the ball and then get back. So what we'd like D1 to do is to kind of sit in space, to get big, maybe to show like he's going to go to R1, make him pass, and then do his best to get back. It is a very tough position to be in, but that's what off-ball defense is. You have to evaluate whether or not you are going to go help the defenseman who's on ball, maybe he just got beat, or do you stay with your man? And with only one backside player, your decision is crucial. You're the only line of defense after this pick works. In our first clip, watch how the backside defenseman kind of comes up to the pick, which leaves the backside player completely wide open. Now, we'd hope that that player would be left-handed, would be on the back pipe, would catch it and finish. This time, the backside defenseman does a much better job of splitting two, and he gets pulled to the right side and they hit the left side, but it was a much better job. In this final clip, the player who is backside steps up to the carry around the pick. The ball is passed. The player who originally got pick rotates over, and the offense finds their nation look. Now that we understand what the defense is doing and kind of how the defense is going to need to play this, we're going to go over the offensive looks, and we're going to do it pretty quickly. So the first thing we have is if the pick works and R1 comes over the top free, he has the ability to just step in and shoot that ball. The other thing he can do is if he does draw, he can use a draw and dump. So if D1 comes to him, he can then move it to L1, and L1 can then shoot. That's really one of the reasons why we want to make sure this backside player is here, because if he's out wide, we're going to give the defense time to recover. And so when you look at this diagram, don't think about it like we passed down, went to pick down, came up over it, and hit that backside player. We want to think about it like we had a pick on the right side, pick on the left side, pick on the right side, and now we're starting to find the looks. Oftentimes I'll make our players rep it out on the right and then the left side, and then they'll be free. And this really helps us because it makes the defense rotate to get used to that rotation, to get used to the reads that they're going to have to make, and it allows our offense to really develop an idea of what if we don't find the look the first time. In this clip, we get a great pass down, pick down, and I love how the player with the ball dodges low to draw his defenseman, which makes him very easy to pick. As he steps off of the pick, he steps in and shoots. The next set of looks that we might have them find is if the pick didn't work. So D5 stays with his man, and now we have a slipping R4. And so the first look that we're going to find is absolutely hit the slip, and then he can just take a shot. Now, if D1 slides here, he's going to have to catch the ball and move it quickly to the backside. Once again, this is why we want him here until he realizes that he does have to pop out. So we always want to make sure we've got someone posted up on that back pipe. In this first clip, we get a great pass down, pick down. He comes off, he hits the slip. The defenseman backside does a great job of splitting two, and now we see why we really want that backside player to be on the back pipe until he really sees that he's going to get the ball. In this next clip, we're going to show the pass down, pick down, hit the slip to pass look. But notice how as this player comes at the pick, he doesn't get inside of the defenseman, so he doesn't set a very good pick. And because he doesn't set a good pick, he can't actually slip to the goal. So we would not get the advantage in the 3v3 series with this type of play. So the final set of looks that we're going to want them to find are the ones we went over in our 3v0 series that involve at least two passes. So we're going to want to find that give and go or that nations look. So for this example, we're going to have D5 get through the pick, stay with them, And so now he does have the option to throw to the slip, but what we're going to have them do is he's actually going to throw this ball forward. And the key here is that he's got a guy on him. D1 now has to come and play this, which leaves R4 open. So the nation's look we can find, it'll come, we should probably have L1 step out a little bit, but so the pass will come to him here, and then he is going to find R1, who is slipping to the goal. So that's our nation's look. The other thing that you'll find is because there are only two defensemen, once he throws this pass, D5 is definitely going to be crashing in on R4. So he's really going to be trying to get down because R4 is more dangerous than R1. At that point, R1's job is to cut the middle, and if L1 can find him quick enough, catch and release it quickly, he then can pass to him on his give and go. And so, like I said in the 2v0, 2v1, and 2v2 videos, it's not important that you tell them you have to do this. Maybe you do because you think that players will get it and they've never seen it before, but we really want this to be them reading the play and finding it as they go rather than, hey, this is what you've got to find. This first clip is going to be of the nation's look. We get a good pass down, pick down. He comes over the pick, moves it early, and the player who's on the backside hits the slipping player, and that player shoots. This next clip is going to be of the give and go example, but it also gives an example of how we want the players to play freely. So we get a good pass down, pick down on the left side. The player comes over, he moves it quickly to the backside player dodges, and now he finds the give and go with a shovel pass. He shoots, scores. This final clip in our 3v2 series is going to show how we want the players to play freely once we get up to our live reps. The pass is thrown down, the defenseman thinks he's coming over the pick, he dodges underneath, finds the backside player, and we get a great shot on net. Now let's move on to our 3v3s. So now that we are into our 3v3s, a couple of different things are going to happen. First, our offense, like getting to the 2v2s, are going to have to set good picks if they want to get open. If they don't set good picks, they're not going to get to the goal. Now, they can get to the goal if they just beat their man, but if you're really trying to incorporate the picks because maybe you have more of a field team and they're really good at dodging, we really want to make sure that they're using the picks and trying to make the picks work if we're going to give them any idea of the box concepts. So on the defensive end, now we're not just going to have one player defending two with the pick. Now we're going to have two players and they're going to be evaluating whether they slip, whether they get through. And so like our 3v2 example, I'm going to go through what happens before we get to the pick, and then we will go through the defensive looks and the offensive looks. Finally, before we get into this, and I forgot to mention it in the 2v0 video, but as you're starting this drill, a lot of times you're really going to want to have your offensive players who are on the sides, you're going to want to have them push off of their defender. So you'll basically have them push the defender in and then step out to receive a pass. And that's because if, like, the defenseman is allowed to push them on the boards if they are at a certain age. So if these are high school players, the defenseman can absolutely come out and kind of push them. So they're going to need to push them back and then pop out to get open. So to our drill. R1 presses D5 in, R4 passes down to him. At that point, we're going to have L1 come kind of to the back pipe, and R4 is going to cut the middle, come out and set a pick on D5. So as he is cutting the middle, he's going to push D1 into the middle, and this time, as he's doing this, D1 is going to follow him out because now we have a player backside. As he's looking at this pick, D4 is going to step into the middle so that now he can evaluate whether or not he has to slide to the slip, slide to the player coming off, or if he can stay with his backside player. And this is where the defensive aspects of running 3v2s is so important, because in our 3v2s, we got this player to be evaluating this situation already. And so now these backside players should be put in the same situation. Finally, as R4 is coming to set the pick, D1 needs to communicate with D5, hey, pick coming left, pick coming left. If it were on the other side, he'd be communicating pick coming right, pick coming right. This is a quick example of us getting to the pick. The player passes down, pushes his defenseman into the middle, then steps out to set the pick. The player who catches the ball is going to try to occupy his defenseman, making the pick easier. The backside player should be a little bit further in towards the pipe. Now, from the defensive end, the player who is getting picked is going to try to get through. The player who is watching the pick happen, he's going to be the player who communicates. He's actually already stepping out to switch in this image. And then the important one is our backside player, who is sideways watching the pick and the ball, ready to slide, but also able to account for his man. So now that we are to our pick, we're going to go over the defensive side first. So obviously R1's going to be here, and he is going to come up over the top. And what we'd like to have happen is D5 just stays with him. If D5 stays with him, nothing else happens. D1 can guard R4, D5 will be with R1, and D4 can then worry about just his guy. Now, if the pick works, now we're going to have to switch. And so D1 is the only player who's going to be able to call this switch because he can see the play. If D5 calls the switch, he doesn't know that D1 is ready. So it's really important that we teach the off-ball players to call out the switch. So the pick works, D1 switches to R1, and now D5 has to cover and get back under R4 to make the switch work correctly. In this first defensive example, we're going to see a great switch, but it's only a great switch because the offensive player doesn't slip to the goal. So we have a nice little pass down, the offensive player goes to set the pick, and had he slipped, this would have been a really great execution of a pick. But because he doesn't, we are easily able to switch and recover to the slipping player. So this side of this is the exact same as our 2v2s, and now we have to incorporate our third player. So in the event that this pick works really well and D5 does not get goal side of R4, now R1 can pass down to R4, and that's where D4 now has to slide. And so same basic idea. If this switch doesn't work, let's say D5 does get to him, but now D1's switch wasn't actually effective and now he's getting in, now D4 is going to have to rotate up. So if the switch doesn't work well and we get a player free, we're definitely going to have to try to slow play and slide to this. Odds are what we'd like to do is we'd like to have him step towards the ball and then make him pass and then get back. The other thing that can happen is if he kind of sits in space or R1 just doesn't really see what's going on, we can have a rotation where D4 comes up and another player comes across. So this first clip is going to be a nice pass down pick down on the lefty side. It works, the switch is miscommunicated, and now we see why our backside player has to be ready to come up to play the ball because the offensive player just steps in and shoots. Now that we understand the defensive half of our 3v3s, now we can move on to the offensive end, and the offensive end is basically all of the exact same looks from the 3v2 series, but they have to actually make the pick work in order to make them happen. So the first series of looks are the pick works well, the switch doesn't happen, R1 can now step in and shoot. Now if he draws D4, he can use his draw and dump, and now he can hit L1 on the backside, and then L1 can shoot. In this first clip, the player who's passed down to does a great job occupying his defenseman, steps over the pick, and takes his shot. Definitely a good look on goal. In this example, we see how valuable it is to push your defenseman into the middle. The pass is thrown down, he pushes the defenseman into the middle, steps off to make his pick. The defense does not play it well, and this time, rather than turning the corner and shooting, which he could have done, he passes to the player backside, he shoots and scores. Now we'll get into the options that come off of the slipping player. So as he comes over, let's say they switch. R4 sets a really good goal side pick on D5, slips to the goal. D5 is then chasing him. D1 does switch effectively. R1 can pass down to R4. If he has the time, he can then take a shot. If D4 slides over and he has the time, he can then pass to L1, who should be there on the back pipe. In this clip, we get a good pass down pick down to the right side. Now the slipper doesn't slip, but the ball comes over anyway. He passes down to the left side. This player comes off a really nice pick, and the player slips to the goal, catches a BTB feed, and shoots. Now, in this clip, I really want to highlight the fact that if you are goal side and the player throws the ball in front of you, there's no way this defenseman can actually play you. And this is one of the things about box, because everyone has a short stick, you can absolutely feed players who seem to be covered but aren't. Now our final set of looks, which are our give and go and our nations looks. So as R1 carries over the top, let's say that they get a good switch, but R4 once again ends up goal side, and he slips. D5 chases. Now, because the switch worked well, we are going to have L1 step out. He will receive a pass from R1, which should draw D4 over, and now he can hit R4 cutting, or if D1 ends up coming back in after the pass, R4 can now cut right over the top of him, receive a pass, and take his shot. So a couple quick things before we end this video. First is we want the players to be allowed to freelance. So let's say we're really making our players do these picks every time. If they don't do them, they get yelled at. They don't want to get yelled at. But it's imperative that as this ball comes down here, that D5 doesn't know what's going to happen. So if they start playing live, this player can always come underneath, because if he can come underneath, now D5 is going to actually have to play him. And if he starts to push him out, he defends it well, now he's easier to pick. But so what you'll find is if you really hone in on the picks and you make those the most important part, it gives the defense an advantage. And we want the defense to have to play the offense straight up. So definitely let your players know, one or two of them at a point in your practice, hey, this time when you catch it, I want you to dodge underneath, because we know this kid's going to be sleeping. This clip is a great example of the players playing freely. This player catches the ball, dodges low to help set the pick, comes off of it, face dodges again, rolls back again, and now he comes to the middle of the floor, shoots, and scores. The next aspect that I want to discuss is why we're not going to be showing our up picks within this 3v series. And I don't think it's bad to run the up picks. I like to run them. I'm just not going to make an entire video about it, and here's why. So let's say R4 starts to drag, R1 comes up, sets an up pick, R4 comes off of this pick, R1 slips. So because he is slipping to the goal and he's getting here, I like to have L1 learn how to cycle to the top, because that's what we'll be doing in our 4v series. So now R1 is going to be on this side. That means R4 has to roll away, move the ball up to L1, and now if he comes to the opposite side, R1 now has to come back up, set a pick again, and this player basically ends up just being the picker if it goes left, right, left, right. And so rather than running this and making a whole video on it, most of the looks are exactly the same. You just don't get the nation's looks within this. But the reason I didn't want to make a video of it is because we're going to hit all the up pick stuff in our 4v series. There will be an entire 4v up pick video. I really like up picks more than down picks, because as we are slipping, we have our face towards the goal. As we accept the pass, we are then able to just shoot from the top down. And usually the players are more to the top of the floor. In these next three clips, notice how because we are setting up picks and slipping down towards the goal, we get some really great looks. In this first clip, we get a good pick. He sees the slipper, catches, finishes. In this next clip, the player does a great job to set up his defenseman to get picked, comes off the pick, hits the slip, we score. Finally, the same exact thing in this final clip. We get a great up pick. He comes off of it, finds the slipper. Now, defensively within these up picks, we really got to make sure that our backside players are stepping into the middle so that we can cover up these slips. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to download the drill PDF associated with this video, you can get that by going to patreon.com/POWLAX and becoming a patron. This will be in the $1 tier. You can get that by clicking this link up in the corner, or if you're watching on Facebook, clicking the link down in the description. Have a good one. I will see you guys in the next video.